everyone, welcome to the National Assembly of Malaysian Students in America's Career Webinar Series. So the purpose of the series is to expose Malaysians in the US to various fields of interest, from public policy all the way to journalism. Featuring experienced professionals from key industries in Malaysia, this webinar series hopes to encourage Malaysians to pursue their dreams by establishing a solid foundation for all of us to kickstart the journey. I'm Nur Shafika binti Saidin, a junior at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's webinar. Before we begin, allow me to introduce our speaker, Abdullah Fakhry Fauzi, who is currently working as a software engineer at 3IC Research LLC in Boston, Massachusetts. In 2017, Fakhry has earned his bachelor degree in International Islamic University Malaysia with major in computer engineering. During his years as a university student, Fakhry was an active English debater in IIUM and later became a part-time trainer. He was also joined the student body of engineering faculty and participated in various hackathon competitions. After actively involved in these competitions, he was quickly offered to work in the US. As he has grown from his experiences, he is now working as a software engineer at 3IC Research LLC after doing his intern from June to September of 2017 at the same company. He chose to work with 3IC because he wanted to experience working overseas and get outside of his comfort zone in Malaysia. Due to the small scale of the company, a lot of tasks are being delegated to a few members, thus allowing him to gain as much experience in a short amount of time. Now, I will let Fakhry talk more about the company in a bit. We're honored to have you both here with us today. Throughout the webinar, I'll be asking Fakhry a set of questions, but anyone can feel free to comment any questions you may have in the live chat box. And remember to include your name and university. Now, some of our audience may or may not have heard about 3IC Research LLC. So let's begin with an overview of the company, and what better way to hear about it than from Malaysia alumni who are currently working there. So Fakhry, how would you summarize the 3IC Research LLC to students?
So 3IC Research is like, it's not a famous company per se. Like, it's the branch in Boston is you could consider it as a startup company. So what we actually do is that we invest in what we're currently doing right now is that we invest in the stock market. So like I, as a software engineer, like I try to help the team here in Boston to create algorithms and programs that would help us like better manage our finance and better help manage our decision making in stock markets, in asset management, in making financial decisions. So what you can literally call this industry is something called, I think it's a new term right now because I actually just heard it when I came to the United States. It's called fintech, finance technology. Yeah, so that's the industry that I'm currently in right now.
Oh, so is it different from like really different from what you have learned? Like, because you're majoring in like computer engineering.
Yeah. So there's nothing different. Like programming is still programming. Like Java doesn't change because Java, Python, all of the programming languages I learned, all of the things about computer engineering doesn't change at all. But like there's another step, and I think that's something like I think a lot of computer engineers need to realize is that like when they become software engineers, like you're gonna be a software engineer for a particular industry, not just a software engineer per se. So like you could be in a software engineer in any industry, like in environmentalist or like in biomedicine or like in politics. Like, but so there's that added knowledge that software engineers need to know when they want to become software engineer. They can't you can't just stay as a software engineer. Like eventually, like in the 2 years of my contract here, like I think that I'll eventually have enough knowledge to earn, if I want to, like a degree in economics, because like that's how much I need to know in order to understand my colleagues.
So can you explain a little bit about your positions right now in your company, and like what are the skills that are required for your position?
So my position right now is simply software engineer. There's nothing interesting. There's no interesting name to it. It's just simply software engineer. But even though because we're a small team or a startup company here in Boston, software engineer doesn't describe much of my work actually. So what I usually do is that I build programs, I build applications to help in the finance management of our team. So let's say, for example, our team needs like certain programs in order to go into the stock market, or in order to invest in certain products. They need a program for that. Like what you use your program to buy things on Amazon. That requires it's not just a simple software where you press and then you buy it. There's a lot of things go back. There's a lot of things that go back in there. So my main job is to create those kinds of applications and to make sure those applications work as intended for the team, and troubleshoot. Most of the time right now is mostly troubleshooting, and that's something I realize as a software engineer, that being a software engineer, it's not much about the developing process, but it's much more of making sure things go well, make sure things work. Troubleshooting basically. Other than that, I also help out with I also try to bring out my own my own ideas in the finance part, because everyone's on board in IC research, so everyone's ideas is in there, and that's something really something I think that people won't see in bigger companies like in Google, because they have separate departments for everyone. But in 3IC Research, because we're a startup company, we're always in talking to each other, discussing even in things that I'm not usually into that much, like in finance, economics. I need to be in there because there's not much, there's only so few people to discuss with. So I do sometimes help the team out with creating scenarios, or helping them analyze data based on what little knowledge I have, and what I'm currently learning on. So even right now, I'm actually studying a bit on the economic ideas that my colleagues are studying. So just to make sure that I have a grasp on where our company is going.
So I'm sure you already explained a bit about this, but I'm just gonna ask anyway. So what parts of your job that you find it is most challenging?
Okay, so the most challenging part of the job is the economics actually. Actually it's two things. It's the economics, because I have zero knowledge in economics. So that's why I said if you're a software engineer, you also have to be something else. You have to be ready to be something else. You can't just stay as a software engineer. That's the first part. So you have to be prepared to learn more, and even though you're working, I'm still a student even there. But the second part, and I think this is something I'm not sure American graduates might empathize with you, but because I studied in Malaysia, much of the challenge is coping with the environment here. So back in Malaysia, the working culture is very different from the working culture here. So I as a software engineer, I didn't know that you can really relax and be very, how should I say, very cool when going to work. I wouldn't say there's not much stress, but there's a much more emphasis here on individual self compared to the culture back in Malaysia. Back in Malaysia, everything was very well disciplined. Everything was you come at 9, you go back at 5. That happens still here. I still come at 9 and sometimes go back at 5. But there are certain instances where intermediate problems, I come around at 12 o'clock and then I go back and maybe 12 o'clock in the night, because there's a troubleshooting problem. So you have to be prepared for that. That's something like I'm trying to cope with the environment of the United States. Even the weather here is very different. So I'm trying to cope with that as well, and that's one of the challenges that I actually face for myself. So like yeah, it's something for me to think about and really to get myself ready in the future. Like winter is coming, and this is gonna be like the first time I'm gonna have winter here. So we'll see how it goes.
Hey. Yeah, Boston's weather is kind of harsh. Yeah. So, what is like the most enjoyable part of your job?
The most enjoyable part,
Yes,
the coding.
the coding.
Yeah, the coding. When I code, there's this the the good thing about solving problems is the eureka moment that you got the right problem and you solve that problem. Like, yeah, this is a really good solution to the problem. So that's a really like that really feels good. Like, you're contributing to the team. Like, it's not really that much. Like like more like but what I really do want to tell people is that, like, like, you shouldn't like expect a lot of those moments. Like I try to find like a lot of good moments in a lot of small good moments, being able to finish up a few lines of code, or like being able to spot problems that other people don't, because like work is very stressing sometimes. And like finding enjoyment in these small moments rather than the big eureka moment is like something that I use to cope myself with work. Like, it's not that I'm not enjoying my work, but it's work. Eventually work is work, and there are good days, there are great days, but there are also really bad days. So the way to cope with those bad days is to find enjoyment in these small bits of moments where, like, you found out something new, or like I learned some new term, or like I learned a new way to code. That's something that I don't think I learned back in university. Like good practices of coding. That's something that I had to ask. I was really afraid of asking my seniors about these stuff, but like they were really like they were really approachable, and they were really they took the time to help me out and teach me all of those like good practices of coding. And like that's the really enjoyment. Like, yeah, I came back and like I learned a lot of new things from a day of work. So that's really nice.
So, does your like your workmates, your office mates, are they like welcoming you there? Are they helping you a lot?
Yeah. They're helping me quite a lot. Yeah, quite a lot. Like most of the time, like everyone's busy with their own work. So even myself, sometimes I'm busy with my own work. But because it's a startup, so I realize that everyone I think almost everyone in my company is in the same age bracket as myself. So like I was like really like, the first day you come to work, like sometimes you tense up and like you're scared, like, because it's a professional life, and like the mentality of a professional life is that everyone is so serious. But then you realize like everyone is actually in the same age bracket of you. Like, like I'm 26 and actually everyone is around that same age. So we actually have the same likes and dislikes, and like it's easy to strike a conversation with my colleagues and to ask them for help, or even like ask them simple things like what did they do during the weekend, and stuff like that. So like my co-workers are like really nice, like really laid back, and like going to work, it doesn't feel that stressful.
That sounds good, because like this is like the first time you're here in like a foreign country and you work here. Okay. So if you have like a good coworker, so that would be good for you.
Yeah.
So how would you describe the corporate culture in your company?
The corporate culture, like, is I would say the culture in my work is, I would say, is semi-casual, like, because like we're still in the finance business, like
Mm-hmm.
we still need to talk with finance and investors and with individuals with businesses and economical backgrounds, but we're also a company of programmers, of software engineers. So like it's not as casual as if you go to a full-on software company like Facebook or Google, or and is it like so business like if you go to a company like Bank of America or like any other banking company? It's very semi-casual.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes like I do have to like look wear smart and like be professional, but sometimes I'm also able to be like very laid back. So yeah, and that like that kind of makes like that kind of makes work, I wouldn't say much more enjoyable, but I would say that it makes the work feel like work, but you enjoy the work.
Mm.
I think that's the right word, because like I don't want to go to work and then suddenly like we're all playing, or like we're all thinking like this is some kind of game or anything. Like you want to go to work and like, you want to feel that it's actually good contribution to the society. So I think that semi-casual, semi-business mentality is really important in the work culture that I'm in.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
Okay.
So, next question. Have you ever encountered with any stressful situation while doing your job?
Oh,
If yes, how did you handle it?
oh yes, yes. That's a lot. One of the things about like working as software engineers, and especially when you have to interact with people who don't have the software engineering background, is to explain to them that things can't be done, or like I don't know things. Yeah, yeah, things like that. Because like even though like even though I work as a software engineer, like I'm a fresh software engineer just from university, and and a lot of my colleagues, especially those with the business and the economic backgrounds, like they sometimes have this perception that I'm like an IT guy and like I know everything, and like that sometimes can be stressful, especially when they're very demanding. and
Yeah.
and like the work is sometimes very demanding, and sometimes you don't know all the answers. So one of the ways that like I try to cope with that, like when I don't know the answers and like I don't understand like certain ways of coding, that happens a lot actually. Like we always like I always thought like there's only one way of coding, but actually there's a lot more ways to coding, and like there's a lot more ways to programming and making it more efficient. One ways I try to cope that is to not be afraid to ask questions to my seniors. So I have a few programming seniors in the company. They're very smart. They're very smart, very good people. So one of the things is to not be afraid, and like I wouldn't say not be afraid to do mistakes, because mistakes are really bad when you're
Yeah.
working. But like before you do a mistake, like maybe it's a good idea to ask a question, and to show to your senior workers that like, okay, I really want to solve this problem, but I'm not really sure how to solve this problem. So like I learned that like my coworkers, they don't like it if we ask questions as if we don't know, as if we're not even trying to like learn anything.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
even like, because right now I'm in my 7 month of working. Like even now I have juniors working under me right now, and sometimes they come and ask me, like we have interns right now, like that was like that was such a I can't believe it. There's interns under me. Yeah. So there are sometimes like I ask my senior coworkers and my junior coworkers ask me, and like something that I realize is that I empathize with my senior coworkers, that we don't like people just asking us without trying to learn anything. Like we want like I really do want to help my junior coworkers, but
Mm-hmm.
like I need to know like, okay, how much do they actually know, and how much can I actually help them to make sure they improve. And like that's something that I learned, like how to solve a problem. Like firstly, we need to try, okay, like maybe I can solve this problem by doing it this way or maybe this way. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, now let's bring it to our senior co-workers and like maybe we can discuss that with them. And like, try when trying to like facing that challenge, try not to like be too burdened with that challenge. Like like when I first started working as a software engineer, like I really felt like the whole world was on me. Like I couldn't solve a problem and like I had no idea how to solve the problem. So like I was really like depressed during the first few weeks of that one because I have no idea how to solve that problem. But like I realized that like when I asked my coworkers and I asked like some of my other colleagues, like even they don't know how to solve the problem actually. So like we laugh together because of that. So like don't stress out too much on that particular issue because like you're like in a company, like even though you're given the work individually, like it's a team that that has to move forward. So I think that's a good comfort for me, knowing that it's a very small team that we have, and like we're moving forward together like, in the company.
So you're mentioning like about your junior, like your intern just now.
Yeah.
So before this, you were also an intern there, right? So how does it feel like to be the senior and like you need to taught the junior?
Like it feels. To be honest, it feels funny at first because like the interns are also asking me like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And like I don't like sometimes I don't know the answer because like I don't like sometimes we have like finance interns as well coming in. So when they ask me about finance terms, I sometimes really don't know the answer. But I think one of the things that I learned there is that like I need to be humble about that, because there were times like I tried to solve a problem that I really don't know how to solve a problem when an intern asked me, and like, it just kind of made it worse. I realized it just kind of made it worse. So being humble and realizing that you don't know what to do like might be a good mentality, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like solving the problem together. Yeah.
Yeah, my friends once said to me that if you don't know, just say you don't know, so, because that is part of the learning process.
That's true. That's true. You should say that you don't know, but don't stop there. You need to say, I don't know. What can I do?
Yeah.
I think that's important.
So when you applied for your current job, was your employer or recruiter looking for specific technical skills or specific computer or engineering courses that you already enrolled in your previous institution?
So initially, like they were looking for Java programmers. So I happen to like be very well versed in Java and JavaScript programming. So that really helped me a lot. But I think like the real turning point they were looking to was my background in going through these hackathon, like because back in Malaysia, like I went through a few hackathon companies. So a hackathon is a competition for programmers. So we program the competition, like asks you to make an application, and then in 24 hours you need to create a program for that. Like it's very taxing. So they were looking for people who were able to do that job under stress. I assume. When you say about recruiters and employers, like initially, like this wasn't my first job that I applied. Do you want to go into that part of the story, or like
yes, please.
Okay. So like because like I hate mathematics. I like there's a reason why I never turned into human science, economics, finance. I didn't like that at all, and I wanted to stay in computer engineering. So being part in the fintech industry was totally like far away from my from my priority. Like my priority was always things like I want to be software engineer for Facebook or like all of those big companies, Google or whatsoever, GitHub, those type of things. But what happened was that like during my time in UIA in IIUM, during our third year, it was compulsory for us to find internship during those during the summer break. I'm not sure, like, is it the same thing with universities in America? Like, was it compulsory for you to take internship?
For my department, specific department in Wisconsin medicine, it's not like the compulsory, but it is you should have like an experience in an internship or something, because that is good for you and it's gonna give you more experience about it.
Yeah, but for us in IIUM, like it was compulsory to take it, or else you won't be able to graduate. So like I really need to find. And the problem with Malaysia is that we didn't have any strong programming or software companies there. Like there weren't really there was Intel in Pulau Pinang, but like I was all the way in Gombak, and I don't think I can commute that far to Pulau Pinang. Like you might be wondering, like, why you going to Boston? Okay, I'll get that. So what happened was that like it was very difficult to find like that specific industry. Like I wanted software engineering, and like because my other friends who were also in computer engineering, they eventually like went into electrical engineering industry. Like they built computers or they help with microchips, those type of things. That wasn't my specialty. My specialty was in software engineering and programming. So there wasn't that much companies in Malaysia that gave that opportunity. So I had to be creative. I had to be creative in outsourcing myself. So like I kind of actually cheated, and like you should really ask as many people as you can. And in my case, like I asked my friends, my families, even sometimes my parents to help out. So my parents, like they help out, and like they help give out my resume to a few people, and word spread out about it. And eventually, like I got a call from 3IC Group. So 3IC Group is the parent company of 3IC Research. 3IC Group is in Dubai. Dubai. They're not in Boston. Like they're very far away. So they were looking. They looked through my resume and like all the experience I had. And they were looking for Java programmers that can go under pressure, that can that has gone through like those 24 hours of programming. And like so after that, after like, okay, like let's try this out. Like it was in Boston, so like okay, I really had nothing to lose because I had no other option. I wouldn't be able to graduate. So like let's try this out. Let's try this opportunity. So they gave me a call, and because like like Boston day is my midnight. When they called me was 2 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. Are you still awake at that time?
I was waiting for them, like what we're doing right now. So I was waiting for them at 2 a.m. in the morning, and like the interviewer didn't realize that it was 2 a.m. in the morning in my place. She thought like the interviewer was a woman. She thought that it was like it was day, and like was giving me questions and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So eventually, like we went through the interview, and I got accepted for the intern position. And I think one of the reasons why it was easy I wouldn't say it was easy, but I would say like it wasn't that difficult, was because it was a startup company. And I think like many people should realize, like even though it's a startup company, it's a small company, that doesn't mean like you don't have a lot of opportunity. I think you have a lot more opportunities if you go into a startup company than a really big compared to a really big company. Like it depends on how much you want to work, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my experience.
So like how was the process of your job application? So that before that, do you know, like, is there any participants for the job interview or?
No. I wouldn't know because like we Skype interview, like
Oh yeah.
we interviewed telecom. So like I wasn't able to know like how thorough the process was, but like how thorough my process was. But like looking back at like the interns that we have right now, the process for my company was very, I wouldn't say it's relaxed, but like it's not as hard as big corporations. Like you send your resume, and then like you go through a few interview process. So like I went through 2 interview process, and like like I asked my other interns, like they also went 2 or 3 interview process as well. So in these interviews, they firstly ask things like, for example, like our general knowledge, like what do you know about economics? How good was my software engineering background? How good was my Java programming? There was actual Java programming question. So like for example, I hope I can actually tell you this because I'm not really sure. I have to tell my company to not use this question anymore. But like one of the questions that they use to ask people who apply to us was this question about how to flip a coin. So the question goes like this: you have 100 coins, 10 are flipped heads down.
Okay.
The other 90 is flip heads up. So how would you make a program to make sure that 50 are heads up and 50 are heads down? I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling. Like, and I'm not like, they wouldn't tell me the right answer until now, because like they want to I think they want to use it in the future. But like I'm like, if you want to apply to 3IC research, like I recommend you try to solve this answer as efficiently as possible.
So you need to do the program on the spot, during the interview?
Not actual program. I mean like pseudo programming. So like first
yeah.
maybe we'll do these operations, and then like we'll use this operation, then we'll get this kind of results. Yeah. And then like from there we can do all these, and then in some instances they'll ask, okay, like, so if you want to use this program, like what is the package needed to perform this program in Java, or like what is the line of code needed in order to make sure this is done efficiently? Like, will you do this by doing it through this method, or will you do it through this method, something like that? They will usually ask something like that.
So we have a question from our audience.
Okay.
From Dr. Rosetta from MIT.
Okay.
Her question is, do you have any idea on the competitiveness working as software engineer in USA versus other countries?
So the only thing I can compare is between Malaysia and United States. So in the United States, it's actually very easy to become a software engineer. Like when I came here, after my intern last year, I actually tried applying a few other jobs, and like because it's very easy if you're a software engineer to go into the software engineer industry in the United States. In Malaysia, might not be, because you might be able to get a job, but you won't be a software engineer.
Oh.
If you understand that, because like I said, like the programmers in Malaysia isn't as, I would say, as mature as in United States. So getting a job in computer engineering as a computer engineer in Malaysia might be easy, but getting a job that you want as a programmer might be difficult.
Okay. So let's rewind back a little bit for to the good old days before you graduated from your bachelor degree.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea or aim to work overseas?
No.
No.
No. I was content in staying in Malaysia, and like staying there for the rest of my life. But like coming to Boston here, like and getting the opportunity to work in Boston, like I would want to continue here and gain as much opportunity as I want. Like something that I realized is that like yes, like for the previous question, the competitiveness is really high, but also the opportunities are also really high here. So I would say like if you're given any opportunities at all, like if you're a software engineer, like even if it's a software engineer for like a university or like for academics or for something that you really don't know, like I would recommend you still take it because the culture of software engineers here is very strong and very good. So even though you don't get the industry that you want, if it's still a software engineer job, just take it because it's really good.
Yeah. So what was your initial plan after graduation? If you didn't land on this job?
My initial plan was to continue my master's.
Uh,
My initial plan was to continue my master's, and what I wanted to do was to open my was after my master's. I wanted what I wanted to do was that I wanted to delve into the industry of of cybersecurity. So that was my initial plan. I still do that here in 3IC Research. So in 3IC Research, other than programming, I'm also like one of the other duties that I have is to look into the security, the computer security of our network and of our programs and everything that we actually do to make sure that nothing's leaked out when we make a program and we put it on the internet. So I still do that, and like and yeah, like I would have like, but realizing it back, like I think like it would like because one of the things that is unique in the United States is that they don't really care whether you have a master's or the degree. So like what happened after my 3 months intern, like I was still not I haven't graduated yet, but like my manager actually asked me whether like if you can skip my last year and just straight away work because like they put a lot of effort in training me here in Boston and like waiting for a year and then coming back like that. There's a lot of things that I might not be able to like. I might forget a few things. So they were worried about that. So they kind of asked me like like we really don't mind if you don't graduate. You want to work in the company straight away like. And I kind of like ask myself about that, like should I do that? But then I think about like maybe it would be better to like finish my undergraduates first, then continue on working. So yeah, that was how it was.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So we're gonna delve a little bit more into your old memories. So you were an English debater in IIUM.
Yes.
So do you mind like sharing the best experience you have in the debating field, and then how does it impact your life?
Okay. So in IIUM, I was involved in the English debating club there. So what we did was that like we train people to become debaters and become like speakers, public speaking, and like more often than not, it was training to go for competitions, debating competitions in Malaysia and also in overseas. Like I never wanted, like I never was able, like actually I did. Like a few times they had competitions overseas, not in the United States. I was never able to go to the competitions in the United States when IIUM sent teams there. That was after my time. But I went to a few countries like closer by, like in Singapore, Indonesia, Macau. I went to those countries for English debate competitions. So one of the things that English debate taught me was, number one, to have a very open mind, and number two was to be a very critical thinker, like to have very strong critical thinking skills. And that actually helped me a lot, really, in my software engineering field as well, because like in trying to solve problems, like sometimes it requires a very open mind and a very critical mind into solving those problems. So that helped me a lot. But one of the things that I think like really helped me a lot with English debate was the speaking part. So one of the things that I did in my hackathon days was that, like, other than creating the programs, we also had to pitch the programs to the judges. So like we need to sell it to the judges. So I was shaking my hands and like, oh my god, like we actually have to do that. And after looking through the hackathon community here back in Malaysia, like I was actually like really, I actually had a really I was actually very fortunate to be part of the English debating team, because like many programmers didn't have good social skills.
Yeah.
So having that English debating background helped me a lot in my hackathon, in like telling people how does my program actually work. It even helps me back in work, like trying to explain ideas to my coworkers, or trying to even ask them like how does something work. Like I think that requires a lot of skill in doing things, because like a lot of misunderstanding can happen when you don't have the skills in like articulating your ideas and telling people how you think an idea should go. Because there are some instances where I disagree, like how the company should do things, or like how the company should do their strategies, or do how the program should be done. So like making sure people understand that idea and doing it in the best way possible is a very important skill. So that helped me a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm. So your debating experience helped you in social skills. So how does hackathon competition impact your life?
The hackathon competition drive me in telling me that my programming skills was very low. So when I went to my first hackathon competition, like it was a culture shock for me, because like I didn't realize how hard the programs were supposed to be. So like when I first entered my first hackathon competition, like I thought like it was simple programming, like university programming, like write a few lines and then like it will produce the results that you want. But this was writing a fully fledged application and making sure it works and then explaining how it works. So hackathon opened my eyes on like how like good programming practices. So during most of my hackathon days in Malaysia, like it wasn't just about programming, it was also about programming efficiently, because we only had 24 hours to program. So making sure that after each hackathon competition, like I learned better ways to program. I learned better ways to like to prioritize my time. Like I only had 24 hours. So like, okay, during this first half, what do I want to do? After this, what do I want to do? So that was very important. And when it translated into my work, like things like, for example, deadlines, or like that helped very much, because like when we have deadlines during work, we need to know how to arrange our work schedule so that we can make sure that we finish before the deadline. So that helped me out very much. Like working under stress, that helped. That began during my hackathon days. Yeah.
So how did you initially got involved in the hackathon?
Oh, my lecturer put my name in there. Like I was very like I don't know. I have the very worst luck. I wouldn't say it's bad luck. I think it's like I have the very like I kind of feel like the world doesn't want me, doesn't like my plan very much. Like I want to do masters, I want to stay in Malaysia. I didn't want it to learn finance, but like the world tries to turn it over. So what happened was that like so like I'm very good with my lecturers, and I think this is something very important with any student actually in university. It's like when you get to know your lecturers a lot, they will help you in connections a lot more. I think that's much more apparent in the United States actually. So I was very I had a very good relationship with my lecturer. So she thought like I had really good programming skills, but like I didn't had that much programming experience. So one day, without my consent, she put my name in a hackathon competition. And she told me like she would give me extra credit if I get myself involved in it. Like, of course I want extra credit. Of course I wanted like extra marks for that. So I joined, and then like, but I didn't know how hard it was to go into a hackathon competition at first. So like we'll just go just for the marks. But after that, like after going the first time, like I enjoyed it a lot, and I really liked the pressure of programming. And I thought to myself, like, okay, we can't stop at here. Like, there's still much more to do. Like, I think I could have like done a better program if I knew this was how the hackathon was. So that was what became my first hackathon. Eventually went on and like pushed me to find more hackathons in Malaysia, and eventually in Boston as well. Like even in Boston, like I tried to find like open hackathon competitions that is open to the public here. So I entered those as well, just to push myself in my programming skills.
Yeah, I strongly agree that having a good connection with our lecturers is important for our own benefit in our own future.
Yeah.
So we have another question from our audience, from Nur Ain from Boston University. She would like to ask you, Fakhry, what do you think of fintech? Would you be interested in moving into that direction?
What? I didn't catch.
What do you think about fintech?
Okay.
Would you be interested in moving to that direction?
I thought I was already in that direction. Yeah. So like right now, there's still a lot of things I don't understand about finance, about economy, but like it seems like I'm moving in that direction. Like I have to move in that direction if I want to stay competitive, and if I want to stay if I want to stay like as somebody who is like valuable to the company, because like I have seniors who started out as computer engineers, but they understand how the market works and how economy works, and like they become valuable members in the team, valuable members within the company. So like I think like I eventually have to move into that direction, into fintech direction. Like maybe not so much in the finance, maybe much more in the technology part, but eventually I have to learn much more about finance. And that, like I'm like one of my senior co-workers actually asked me like advised me to take in like these courses, online courses for finance, and I've been like trying to think about it. I want to think about it first, because like I don't want to put too much time in it if it's not a long-term progress. But like looking at how it is right now and how like I really can make a difference in this company, like that option might I might have to take that option eventually.
So does your lack of finance knowledge hinder your work, like your programming work?
Programming, no, but time consuming, yes. So like the programming part, like I will always understand my own programs, but like sometimes when my my coworkers who have a finance background, they want to explain things to me because I'm the programmer. So they need to tell me, okay, this is what we want and this is how you should do it. Like they bring all of these finance ideas into their strategies. So I need to keep up with that. So that sometimes hinders me because like, oh, I don't understand this idea. I didn't understand this. So they needed to take time explaining that. And I think like if I had knowledge before this about those terms and those ideas, it might make things much more faster. But of course, it doesn't like stop my progress altogether. Like I was still able to program quite well, if I have to say so myself. So yeah, it's only an obstacle. It's not a hindrance. It's an obstacle that I eventually had to overcome.
Yeah. So we have another question from our audience, from Daniel Lokman. Is your job different from what you expected it would be? If different, then how is it different?
Okay, so there's this. I'm not sure. There's this mentality from especially from myself and especially from undergraduates in IIUM, from where I learned, that when you say programmer, they're expecting like long hours of programming, doing all these things. Like they never think like nobody like I have never met anyone yet from my university that thinks about like what industry of programming they would go to. So like that kind of like was a shell shock that there are different types of industries for software engineering. There's fintech, there's software engineering for medicine, there's software engineering for cars, there's all of these other industries for software engineering. So like back in IIUM, we were only thinking about the first one, programming part. I'm still doing programming. I'm doing a lot of programming actually. Like I sometimes like there are instances where I sometimes program like 12 hours, like 16 hours a day, nonstop, because like we're constantly like renewing the code and renewing the program. So like it was fully what I expect. I expected myself to be programming in front of a computer, sitting on a desk for 16 hours straight. Like that didn't change. What did change was the industry. I didn't think things through about the industry. Like I didn't realize there were industries in software engineering. So like that was something like like even though there was 16 hours of programming, there was also 2 hours of learning economics, learning finance. There was also 2 hours of sitting in a meeting, sitting in a discussion. We don't call it meetings, we call it discussions. Okay, sitting in discussion and asking the economics, like how does things work? 2 hours asking them, okay, if this goes here, this goes there, what does this actually mean? What does this term mean? So there's also that. So it's not just 16 hours programming, sitting in front of a computer, but it's also like another step of learning economics, and that's something that I didn't see myself doing, and something like I think students need to realize that they need to do that as well. Like if whatever industry you're gonna go in, like you need to expect like you're gonna have to eventually learn about that industry as well.
Yeah. So the learning doesn't stop after you graduate.
The learning doesn't stop. Like software engineers have it very hard because like software engineering is already very hard for myself, especially the mathematics. Like I wanted to go far away from my mathematics, but like I thought I already graduated and like I stopped learning. But then I became a software engineer and realized like there's a lot more to learn even after this. So the learning never stops. Like after becoming a software engineer, now I need to become an economist software engineer, a finance software engineer, and fintech. And like if let's say for example like I didn't choose fintech and I need to change another job, another industry, I then have to learn about that other industry, and like the learning never stops for software engineers, unfortunately. So bad news for software engineers. You're still gonna be given textbooks and a lot of reading material.
Oh, my God. Okay, we have another question from Karina Ibrahim. She's a computer science student studying at Wisconsin-Madison.
Okay.
Her question is, which programming languages do you use at work? And then which languages would you recommend students to pick up?
Okay. So I mostly use 3 languages. I use Java. I use C++. I started out with C++. That's the language I learned in IIUM in my first year. So after that, I learned Java in IIUM. And then I self-taught myself JavaScript, because if you have NetBeans, I'm not sure if this is in Eclipse, but I started out learning Java programming language with NetBeans. So you can have JavaScript and HTML integrated in NetBeans. So as I learned Java, I also learned JavaScript as well. So those were the 3 languages I started out with. But when it comes to finance, when it comes to economics, they mostly use Python. So, and when I first learned Python, like Python is very simple. Like that's something that I realized. But I kind of hate it. I kind of hate it because it's too simplistic. There's it's the easy way out. Like there's a lot of things that makes my life easier. Like you don't need to declare all of those declare all of the variables, which one is which. Like it's very simple, straightforward. So when I first came into 3IC research, I had a crash course of Python for myself. So that was easy. I don't use it as much, but I use it because the economics also use Python as well. So it's easy for us to translate translate the ideas that we want. So like if they code it in Python and I look at that Python code, I might be able to turn it into Java. The problem with Python was that like there wasn't much and I think I'm not sure if this is because of my own experience with Python, but I learned that Python doesn't have that much capabilities as Java or C++. So even though if you do have a Python background and it's a really good programming language, I would still recommend you picking up Java or C++ because you can do a lot more with Java and C++, even though it's much more complicated. But I would recommend software engineers to really hold on to Java and C++ because that's I think is gonna stay for a very long time. Like most of the one of the things that we do, we also do is that we get ourselves involved with other companies, with other finance companies, for getting like their market data, their finance data, or like buying data for them. So in order to do that, like they have APIs, I'm not sure, I forgot what API stands for, but essentially like they give us programs that can interface. I know the I stands for interface, the A stands for application. I forgot what the P stands for, but they have APIs. So these APIs, in order to do as much as you can with their APIs, you need to know Java or C++ at least. I don't think you can use Python to work with the APIs of most finance companies. So having Java or C++ is a really good idea. And like if you're learning that and you have a really strong background in Java and C++, then you're on the right track. You can you can go to any software engineering company and you should be fine. I hope.
Okay, we have a follow-up question from her. Do you work with big data or any data science work at 3IC?
Yes, we do. We do a lot of big data. So we get ourselves involved with stock market data, with equity data. Most of it is market data. So like things like, for example, like how the market flows. I'm not really sure how to explain it because I'm afraid because the terms that I use might not be the universal terms. Like it's a term that I give them because that's how I understand, because I'm not an economics student. So like things like, for example, like market data from Bloomberg, like we take a lot of those data, those big data, and like create algorithms to 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 uh, to to get the best strategies and get the best ways to do the things that we want to do. So when dealing with those big data, one of the important things as a software engineer is efficiency, like good programming, good programming practices. Like you can't just program like how you did in university. Like usually you will learn and you'll get scolded actually by your seniors. I get scolded a few times actually during my earlier days. Good on how to do good programming practices, because like if you're working with big data and you wanna analyze big amounts of data. I'm not talking like 1 kilobytes or like maybe a few lines of data. I'm talking like terabytes of data. We're taking like market data from 10 years ago, 50 years ago, and usually that thing takes like 50 gigs of data. So, and like the manager doesn't want our program to run like 2 weeks. They want it to run in 2 hours. So how do you program it efficiently? So that's something that I really had to learn when going through with big data.
That is interesting. So we have last question.
Okay,
what will be your advice to the students out there, especially to those who are about to graduate? Because students studying in the US and back in Malaysia, as well as students that is majoring in computer engineering.
Okay, so what my advice for computer engineering is to take any opportunity you can get. So I started with a startup company. I initially didn't want it to go into a startup company because it's a startup company. It's small. It's not well known. It's not as big as Google. When you say to your your family, I work at Google or I work at Facebook, that sounds very nice. But I think for undergraduates, and especially from in the United States, where you have a lot of opportunities in computer engineering, but not a lot of opportunities to work in Google or Facebook. Okay, so you have a lot of opportunities to work as a computer engineer, software engineer in the United States. I would recommend is to take any opportunity that you can as a software engineer, because the core basis is the same: good programming practices and learning how to work under stress as a software engineer. The industry, whichever industry, doesn't really matter unless it's an industry you really don't like. For example, you really don't like the medicine industry because you don't like to see how many people die, statistics or something like that, or you don't like finance, the finance industry because you really don't like money or something like that. So unless you really don't like a certain industry, whichever industry you're given the opportunity to go as a software engineer, just take it, even if it's a startup, because the main important thing that you want to create first, your foundation, is to have good programming practices and to have that core. And I think if you are able to have any platform at all, then you should take that opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity to become a programmer here in the United States.
So any words for the students back in Malaysia?
The students back in Malaysia, I would the students back in Malaysia, I would tell the students back in Malaysia that they should create startup companies back in Malaysia. That's a culture that we don't have in Malaysia, unfortunately. We're always reliant on bigger corporations. We don't want to start up things from ourselves. I'm not sure it's because it might be because we don't have any idea. We're afraid of new ideas. So I would recommend if programmers back in Malaysia, you seem to you can't find a company that caters to good program to your own to programming skills. So I would recommend you create your own company. I think that's very easy. What kind of programming you want to do? It doesn't need to be grand. You can start off with something simple. Okay, I want to start with programming for maybe simple needs for like how to create better software for school, software for education, software for library software. Like that, like if you go to the library back in Malaysia, like they're literally like still cataloging things sometimes manually, like inputting data manually. Like you could build a whole software for that, and like you can have a job for that. So like there's I think there's a lot of there might not be a lot of startup companies in Malaysia, but there's a lot of startup opportunities in Malaysia. I think that's something like if the students from United States weren't able to find a job in United States, then that's something I think will be very valuable back in Malaysia. Creating your own startup software company back in Malaysia.
Yeah, that is a really good advice. So that is all the time that we have tonight for our today's webinar. Thank you so much for your time, Fakhry. I'm sure that everyone who had just watched this webinar now has a better understanding of what a 3IC is and how was the working field as a software engineer. If you have any further question for Fakhry, you can reach him through his email, which is fakhry92@yahoo.com, Fakhry. Plus, if you want to know more about 3IC, you can go check out their website at www.3icgroup.com. So, Fakhry, do you have anything else to add?
No. Good luck to all the software engineers. Like I would tell them, like if you're a software engineer, you're in the right, you really have a really great opportunity in the States or wherever you are. So good luck to you all, and enjoy programming, enjoy software designing. Like that's really, it's a really great job to do.
So to anyone who did not get the chance to watch the whole webinar, we will be posting the recorded video on YouTube. So check on that. Please email us or leave comments on what you thought of this webinar so that we will be able to organize a better one next time. The link to the feedback form is posted in the video description below and also the Facebook event page. We would really appreciate it if you could spend a minute or two to fill it in. Thank you for everyone for tuning in and have a great weekend. Thank you, Fakhry.
Thank you. Bye.